Okay. We begin with our customary throat clearing, I guess. Good morning. It's February 3rd, 2026, 12:33 p.m. I'm Chris Johnson. Nice to meet you. This is today we're doing episode 3. We have a little bit more of a focused discussion today. This is on the concept of temper. As a word I was thinking about yesterday, and is a really interesting word. Kind of like grabbed my attention, and I sort of like meditated on it a little bit. And it's obviously related to lots of other things. If you get into etymology, you can think about temper in a lot of ways. You can think about temper in a lot of ways. Yeah. My environment here is like a little bit gross, so that's one thing I noticed. Uh, um, yeah, and but part of this discussion to kind of frame where we're going at here is I'm working on being expressive. So being able to speak, being able to think, being able to perceive myself as a social involved in a socializing, as human beings are social animals, and as you get well, I guess I should start with the brief description from the point of view of like a boomer mentality. um, there's a lot of boomers in my life, is maybe just a colloquial way to say like older or elderly people. And elderly boomer people can be wise. So from this from that perspective, a description of kind of like why I started this video series, and why I've been so meticulously interested and nerdy about like the human body. Is that all right, I'm ready for this. And uh, part of this is honesty. So honesty goes into temper, which is why I'm doing this. It's not because I'm an honest person. I don't want to like be an honest person. And the honest truth is that I have been a lifelong marijuana addict since about age 15. And it's a fascinating drug. If you smoke marijuana, it's really intricate, and as a thing to ingest regularly, it changes you completely. It changes your physiology in very deterministic ways. It changes your outlook. It changes your personality. It changes your perspective on things. And so, for me, you kind of fast forwarding, I don't really want to talk about marijuana that much in this episode. Maybe we'll get back to it. Maybe we'll get back to it if anyone ever watches this and gives a shit. We could probably talk about marijuana per se. But for me, the relevant part to bring us up to today is that I kind of go through like cycles of marijuana use. And typically what happens is like I'll be binging a lot of marijuana. There'll be some kind of like stressful event or signal in my life that I should start having anxiety. That anxiety grows. I start to examine that anxiety. I start to kind of like break it down. I start to like feel it. And once that kicks up, I don't have I don't share any kind of mentality with the boomers around the idea of addiction and 12-step process and lifelong commitments to never use substance. There's like a whole like thing, social, theological boomer thing going on there where they just like all substances are bad, don't ever have a substance unless a doctor gives you a substance, then it's good. Food is not a substance, so you can eat any kind of food and it doesn't matter. It's unrelated to the concept of substances. But if you ingest a single substance, then you're like, you cross the social threshold into a category of like bad, loser, you know, type person, which I accept. Which, I accept. And is a good aspect of like kind of meditating. Yeah, I'm kind of a loser. Uh, looking around looking around my environment this morning, I had the impression like I'm kind of gross. I have kind of some gross tendencies. There's like a pile of cigarette butts right here. It's gross. I'm kind of a loser and I'm kind of gross. Right? So we're working on honesty. Um, and that's kind of the bridge between expressiveness. So, like, the first thing that I care about is expressiveness. Like, I want to be able to express stuff. I want to be able to feel stuff and think stuff and talk and have that whole function is kind of central. It's just being able to talk. If I'm not in a state where I can't express anything, then there's no point really doing anything. And then getting to temper, the kind of bridge maybe between expressiveness and temper is maybe like honesty. It's just one of those things to work on. Okay, so what's temper? I asked ChatGPT this little high-level qualitative thing. Actually, I think it has I really enjoyed the response here. And I guess we should kind of stick in the frame of like colloquial American old-timey milieu. So like temper is an English word. It's been used on these fine shores for hundreds of years to describe people's temperament. Temperament is a word that is, back in the day, people used to like, I think temperament and temper used to be more high level central concepts to like how American culture mediated people within itself, like you don't want to be quick to anger, right? You'll hear that phrase. If someone's quick to anger, then that means that they're like kind of a hot-blooded person. If you insult someone, you're in like an old-timey saloon out in the West, and some cowboy rides in and he gives you that eye, and you look across the table and you're like, "What are you doing here at these parts?" And he goes, "This here's my town." And then you kind of stare at each other, and then but you get really quick, and then it suddenly becomes a fight. They have to go draw and shoot each other in the street. It's temper. That's an example. It's a qualitative description of how like a hot-blooded temper is described. Anyway, so that's an example from colloquial American culture, U.S. culture. I have an association with temper about coolness and detachment. Like there's some kind of relationship between being a cool person and like keeping your cool and being like detached and like remaining above things, right? And I think we're not yet at any part of the stage where we can attach value judgments or other qualities to these qualities. These are just we're like exploring these on their own first principles in the ether without any kind, like, is being hot-blooded good or bad? I don't know. Maybe everyone needs to be way more hot-blooded. Like, quite possible. Being a cool person is not bad. I like being a cool person. I like being collected, and I like having a serene stability. Like if I'm talking to someone, I like trying to be the rock in that conversation, and I like letting that person just do whatever they want. It's very like it's very natural. It's a very very natural state for me to fall back into. It's just like it's like a reserved, collected, just flat. Um, and I I put a lot of effort into maintaining this. Like a lot of my own habits and attributes are like related to me just trying to be a solid stone, like on this like vast sea. And these are good. These are good traits. But for various reasons, I've now come to examine this as something that, well, we'll stick at the conceptual layer, but like, I would like to improve my temper. I would like to improve my own temper. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean becoming more of a hot-blooded person. It doesn't mean becoming more cool. It has nothing to do with that. And actually, the word temper, I remember in a technical sense, has to do with forging like a sword, or like annealing is the process in physics, where like you're some kind of object you have in a blacksmith. The way to harden the metal, I'm not a blacksmith. The way to harden the metal is like you make it really hot, and then you cool it off. You dip it in water, and then you make it really hot again, and then you cool it off. You dip it in water, and then you make it really hot again, and then I don't know. You do blacksmith stuff, but the process of tempering steel is annealing. It's you go from hot to cold, you hot to cold over time, and then this anneals into the specific alloy you want for the tool you're making. Like that's the technical description that I'm thinking of when I think of improving my temper. Is like I want to anneal my whole self into. There's a lot that goes into it because it's not just temper is not just a quality related to you internally. It emerges out of how you interact with broad environmental changes and social cues and your relationships and your life. Like your entire life feeds back into your temper and how I don't really know if you can, like a couple days ago I would have said like managing your temper is a goal, but now I think that's less accurate. I think that's less accurate and less descriptive because I don't really know if you can manage your own temper, but I think you can improve your temper. I think you can improve your temper. And there's a lot to say about that, but we'll just go through this qualitative list, and we'll we'll try a mode here where I'm just like reading and not just like kind of improvising, I guess. And we'll see if it gets boring or I lose interest in doing this. I'm a very cool person. How do I become more hot, warm-blooded, fiery, or good-tempered? I think that last one in is kind of a wrench. You can treat these words as dials in the same console. How much emotional temperature you generate. And I love ChatGPT for this because it's made up. This is a made up interpretation of things, and it's a good one. It's how much emotional temperature you generate. I'd never even thought of like emotional temperature, how much you transmit, and how stable that temperature is under stress. Get clear on what cool means in your case. Cool can be low reactive. You don't visibly spike up and down. Low expressive. You feel things, but you don't broadcast them. Yeah. Low attachment. You don't need outcomes, so you read as unbothered. Aesthetic cool. Minimalist. Dry humor. Composed presence. Each version has a different path to hot, warm, fiery. The goal usually isn't stop being cool, it's add heat on purpose. Add heat on purpose. Maybe something I'm doing here. I would add a fifth thing. like intellectualizing, I think, is a very like cool activity in this framework. Like over being too smart is like a failure mode for people, and I think it's associated with this like detached coolness. So that's my little addition flavor. Hot and fiery, energy and commitment, and a little risk. I think Tamo does mean like fiery woman in Tibetan. I think that's the literal translation. People read heat when you do some mix of these things. Commitment signals. I'm also pleased at how quickly this pwned my. This got straight into my own personality, and I went through this checklist, and I'm like, oh my god, I do everything on the cool checklist, and I do nothing on the hot checklist ever. Very bad. I don't make commitments. I'm terrified of them for normal reasons, probably. Commitment signals, strong preferences, clear choices, fewer hedges, not louder but more decided. I'm into X beats. X is kind of interesting. So it's not louder. You're not like shouting a commitment. You're just making them. You're just like, you're saying, I care so much about this thing. I really want to improve this relationship, or I want to do this thing. So like, I'm going to do it. I'm committing right now. I'm putting it on my calendar. It's going to be done, hell or high water. It maybe gives you justification socially to be like, hey, I made a commitment to this thing. So if anyone gets in my way here, like, you're violating my own commitment to myself. And that's like a personal thing that you're affronting, you know? Initiation, you start things, plans, conversations, projects, instead of mainly responding. Guilty. I don't start anything. I just respond to everything. It's a huge problem. Initiation reads as heat because it costs social risks. I don't do social risks. And again, I'm talking about myself, but anyway, we can assume everything on the hot checklist is like stuff I need to work on. Stakes. You visibly care about something. Actually, this matters to me. I am going to talk about myself because this is currently this is a podcast about myself from myself. So fuck it. I'm talking about me. I don't visibly care about shit. Fuck everyone, man. Fuck. Yeah, I don't visibly care about shit. Actually, this matters to me very little. And my family matters to me for some somewhat selfish reasons, maybe. I don't know. Tempo, slightly faster conversational rhythm, quicker laughter, more animation, fewer long neutral pauses. I'm working on it, but I want to point back to like, this does not mean louder. This does not mean slightly faster conversational rhythm is a really cool phrase. For reasons, all right? For reasons. Edge in play. Teasing, flirtation, mischievousness, bold compliments, anything that says I'm willing to put a little voltage in the room. Yeah, I don't. I'm. Oh, I can't even conceive of that, bro. Can't even conceive of it. It's true. Heat is desire made legible. Desire. Right? You have to desire stuff, unfortunately. Unfortunately, you have to desire stuff. That is a law. That is a fucking law. I have been watching some Buddhist meditation videos, and Buddha goes into this whole all suffering comes from desire. To end suffering, you end desire. I guess that would be a good way to make you a very cool person. So, fuck Buddha today, man. Fuck Buddha. Just today. Alright? Just today. He was probably alright. He probably knew a lot more about temper than I do. Warm-blooded. His friendliness and attunement. Soft power. Ugh. Warmth is less about intensity and more about how safe and seen you make people feel. I do gotta check my neck here because there's some little thing right here. It's a little sore. I don't know what that is. That's something. Open face, open body, more eye contact, more smiles that reach the eyes, fewer guarded micro expressions. Personal acknowledgments, using names, remembering details, asking about the person, not just the topic. Validation without overdoing it. That makes sense. I'd feel that too. Yeah, that's rough. Generosity, small favors, introducing people, sharing credit, expressing gratitude quickly and specifically. Warmth isn't being nice, it's being with people rather than merely near them. Right now, I do think about my family, and I think my family shares my coolness tendencies. We don't have a very warm. I would not qualitatively describe my family as warm to any degree. Very, very cool people. Very, very cool people. Good-tempered is when heat is under control. It's a stable flame, like a little flickering candle. Good-tempered doesn't mean low heat. It means stable, non-spiky heat. Slow to anger and quick to repair. So, the opposite of quick to anger. You want to be very slow to anger. You want to let everything build up a little bit, and then you want to blow up, and then you want to be like, I'm sorry. I guess that's just how humans work. There's probably no way around that. Clear boundaries and low contempt. You can say no without making someone feel small. There's a lot of stuff for me to work on, fam. There's a lot of stuff for me to work on. Emotional range without emotional whiplash. You can be excited, annoyed, tender, playful without it becoming chaos. Think of it as high warmth and high self-regulation. The biggest practical lever: express more of what you already feel. A lot of cool people aren't colds, they're filtered. Couldn't be me. That could not be me. Becoming hot and warm often means lowering the filter a notch. Say the compliment you thought of but didn't say. Let the laugh out when it arrives. Admit the preference instead of staying neutral. Share the stake. I'm weirdly excited about this. I really want this to work. You don't need a new personality, just a higher broadcast setting. A little ChatGPT-ism for you. Pick your flavor of heat so it doesn't feel fake. Hot can be multiple aesthetics. Choose what fits you. I'll slow down here. I mean, these are cool. All of these seem grace. When I look at my eyes, like radiant heat, sparky heat, forge heat, volcanic heat, these sound fantastic. I want one of these. I want some kind of this heat personality. Warm, inviting, friendly, curious, affectionate. That's probably not me. Spark heat, playful, flirty, teasing, quick humor, bold moments. Maybe something to shoot for. And this is actually one sign that I've realized about myself that has led me to thinking about improving my temperature as a personality trait, is that I'm very fighty. And I guess this is maybe where I started a few days ago. It's like I'm a very fighty person, and it's sometimes consciously and it's sometimes automatically. Sometimes I will automatically fight whatever's around me, physical objects. I'll start to I have a very ingrained tendency to generate conflict. It's very ingrained to me. Um, and it comes out without temper, there's definitely raw stuff. Like I want to be activated and I want to like get in the zone. And sometimes I do want to fight the entire world. Sometimes I do want to fight the entire world. And that comes out sometimes as sometimes comes out as anger, right? As like just regular, this guy's an angry person. I have some of that. I have some of that. I have some of that. It's not that bad. Um, this is just poor temper. It's just poor temper. I truly think it's that this concept can save me, fam. I think it can. I've historically had poor temper. I think that's where that's worth admitting. Um, and yeah, being angry is not good. Whatever. Um, part actually, we're gonna. That's one of these tabs here because I want to talk about temper in popular culture because colloquially in modern American culture, the word temper is associated with just anger. Like it's just associated with being an angry person. If someone says you have a poor temper, what they mean is that you get livid and you get upset and you want to fight people. And I think that is what like we've lost a whole bunch of fidelity over the centuries because of this. Yeah, it's an interesting thought to land on. Um, like words used to be better. We used to have better words in this country, and the words have all gotten corrupted. And so whenever we try to talk about stuff, people miss the point very easily, and that can lead to misunderstandings and more conflicts. Under this umbrella, it would lead to worse conflicts, not really more conflicts. Okay, I'm rambling. Let's finish this up. Forge heat, driven, ambition, intensity, competence with visible hunger. It's maybe good to be driven and focused on like trying to fight something in the world. Maybe that's a good place to be. I've tried it out for decades and it has not worked out. The world is bigger than me. So, uh, volcanic heat, dramatic, big feelings, big stories, high risk and reward, whatever. Most people do best with a primary flavor and a secondary one. Watch out so heat doesn't become mess. Volume does not equal heat. Louder is not necessarily hotter. Commitment and presence are hotter. Fiery does not equal volatile. Volatility reads as unsafe, not attractive. It's tempering steel. You get it to an alloy and then it's solid, stable. Warmth does not mean people pleasing. Warmth with no boundaries reads as neediness, not warmth. Simple calibration question. When you leave an interaction, do people know what you liked, what you wanted? If the answer is often not really, that's the exact gap between cool and warm-hot. If you tell me which cool you mean, low reactive versus low expressive versus low attachment versus aesthetic, I can tailor the dials without changing your core vibe. Sorry, your core style. That wasn't so bad. That was enjoyable. Just to like read all of this and then, yeah, cool. I've given up on Christianity. I'll be totally honest with you. Or I've given up on like trying to become an evangelical Baptist Christian in the in the Protestant sense, but I did, when I was thinking about this word yesterday, I had a brief spat of curiosity. I was like, I bet this is one of those rich words that has been diluted over time. And so I looked up this definition. I think it's a pretty good one. I read this one and I was like, dang, this sounds kind of like what I've been thinking about this, what I've been thinking about this subject the whole time. Um, I'm a little exhausted from reading, so like I won't read this, but here's a definition of temper is biblicalcyclopedia.com uses as its interpretation of what this Greek / Aramaic word that appears in texts is called. I'm assuming they're Catholic because it's McClintlock, and that sounds Irish, and Irish sounds Catholic, so here's the Catholic take on what the word temper means, I think. Not really going to delve into this. And then yeah, this is this is an example of how fucking dumb I think. It's smart. Okay, the reason I thought about this is because this is a smarter take on anger as a concept than like a lot of other things. It's smarter. It gets into the idea that like actually anger can be not being angry, and it's related, you see, because if you're not angry then you're going to be angry, so you have to be angry to not be angry. I summarized the whole fucking plot of this dumb movie. So it's about temper. It does, but it's like the smallest sliver of like a window into this whole cool like conceptual world that we're exploring here, and I think ChatGPT does a lot better job. That's just my opinion. All right, it's probably time for me to go on a walk or something. I don't know. Thank you for watching if you're watching this.